administration. Kristen Welker, the emails. I said, you know, nobody cares about the damn emails. That's what Bernie Sanders famously said. I couldn't believe when I looked at the timestamp, October of 2015.
That's right.
We are now at September of 2016. Somebody cares about them.
Absolutely. And to some extent, the problem for Secretary Clinton is not the content of these stories anymore. It's the fact that they keep breaking. There's this drip, drip, drip that just will not go away, and obviously it feeds into voters' lack of trust in her. You ask Bernie Sanders if it's too late to turn it around. It's hard to see that she can really turn that around at this point. I think that's baked into the cake. That's part of Democrats' concern about the fact that she's been off the campaign trail for so long. They want her to get back in the game so that she can defend herself amidst these
By the way, a little
headlines.
Just so people know, there was no recording. There is no recording because it's FBI policy that, and at this point, unless the person has been arrested, do you record any interview? FBI doesn't ever do this. And I have to say, it is sort of, it's disconcerting, no matter who you are, whether you're the FBI or the person being interviewed, because there's no record here. You're going by notes. And this is I'm uncomfortable with all of this.
I feel like there's an audio record of almost everything at this point. I mean, like when I'm outside in public, I assume that...
Again, this isn't fair to either the lawyer or the...
Remember, they don't even release... This is sort of over and above the releasing of the interview and the report.
But the problem is that it all of a sudden feeds into this narrative. For folks that don't know that that's the standard practice, it feeds into this narrative that she's getting some sort of special treatment. But clearly she's not.
No.
Exactly right.
I have to say, it's just befuddling. It's a befuddling policy, I think.
Wait a minute. She has been treated, I think, quite a little differently than somebody under FBI, this kind of investigation. They bring her in late.
She thinks she's treated over and above what other people would be treated.
They bring her in late in the 9th inning when the investigation is almost over. When most investigations like this, you start interviewing key folks like that early, and that's how Petraeus ends up getting caught on perjury. You walk people through. They lay it out all in front of her at the last minute. You okay with this? But her problems are much bigger than this. Her problem is she was dishonest about this. She said there was no classified information, and that was just not true. And on top of that, it all leads to the Clinton Foundation, something that has been called a slush fund.
But this is my favorite
by the Sunlight Foundation.
No, but this is my favorite part. Is Vox recently did a piece on the Clinton Foundation saying that the scandal is that there is no scandal, right? And if you actually look at the work that the Clinton Foundation has done, is actually good work. But then you take Trump, who basically took his foundation money and actually wrote a check to a campaign. That is actually illegal.
Well, this brings me to the larger issue for Trump. Because if you don't, and goes back to the Mike Pence, if you want to make this an issue, Crystalisa, you've got to release something. You've got to be on even or even higher ground. There's nothing.
Her clear weakness and a real flaw. Look, if we talked about this in any other context with any other candidate, if somewhere between 55 and 65% of the public consistently said the words honest and trustworthy don't apply to you, anyone around this table would say that's a big problem. The thing is, you can't beat something with nothing.
Yes,
Donald Trump. All right, well, we'll find out.
We're testing the premise.
Donald Trump. No tax returns. You know, everybody knows why it's not being released. This idea that he's under audit, that is an excuse, the Mike Pence excuse.
He doesn't want the scrutiny that the Clintons have gotten.
That's exactly right.
By the way,
the Clintons have gotten the scrutiny.
But that's not the point, Alex.
Because of public,
it's not about
because of disclosure.
It's not about what he's running for president of the United States. If we're going to hold her to a standard about press conferences and that she needs to be transparent, then he should have the same.
I would be for a world where Democrats were held to the same standard as Republicans. I don't happen to live in that one. However, of course he doesn't want the attention on him in a campaign. You want it on your opponent. It makes all the sense in the world.
No, but
and by the way, Luntz asked an interesting question in a focus group. Hey, do you care more about Hillary's emails or Donald Trump's tax returns? They care much more about Hillary's emails because that's our government's, that's policy. That's all kinds of...
But you know what's in tax returns? Don't you want to know if your president is going to use his presidency to enrich himself or not?
Apparently, Hillary Clinton's voters don't, because that idea that somehow the Clinton Foundation is this wonderful thing that helps people, most charities give 75% of their money in direct aid. The Clinton Foundation gives less than 10. In 2013, they raised $140 million, gave $9 million to people in direct aid.
But the striking
it's a slush fund for the Clintons.
The striking thing here is that Donald Trump's unfavorable ratings are actually higher than Secretary Clinton's. And you talk about the taxes. He's sort of flown under
necessarily.
the radar. Well, he
No.
is in the latest poll. If you
No,
look at the latest
actually, I've
polling,
got a survey in Ohio that says Hillary Clinton's negatives are higher than Donald Trump.
the latest Washington Post ABC News poll does
nationally,
have it
Alex,
higher.
there's no question.
Yeah, and I
They're
think
fighting
that he-
hard to be each more
And I think
popular
he's
than the
flown
other.
under the radar to some extent.
Let
at
me
this
let
point,
Kristen
but
finish her thought here.
the debates are coming up, and I think this is going to become a bigger problem for Donald Trump, that he hasn't released his taxes. I mean, he's going to actually have to answer this question over and over again on a much
The whole
bigger
thing,
stage.
I would say, doesn't this feel like the least worst choice? I mean, that seems like we're headed for it. It's the least worst choice. When you have two historically unpopular nominees, guess what, folks? Between now and November 8th, it's going to get worse. Nastier, not better. I mean, you're going to see whoever wins with a remarkable hill to climb with the American public in the White House.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, quick 45-second break. We got Endgame coming, and those "I can't live without you" messages from your secret admirers.